En este primer bloque lo que vamos a hacer es arrancar con uno de los fabricantes de add-ons más importantes que hay ahora mismo en el marketplace. El marketplace de Atlassian, como sabéis muchos, es un mercado donde se pueden comprar complementos que añaden funcionalidad a los productos base de Atlassian, Jira, Confluence, Bitbucket, HipChat, etc. Bien, pues uno de esos productos que se ha hecho un hueco en el panorama mundial es eazyBI. Es un producto de Business Intelligence para obtener datos de todo tipo de Jira, y hemos tenido la suerte de que venga aquí su padre o su fundador, su creador, o la persona que más puede conocer eazyBI en el mundo ahora mismo. Así que no le veo, pero me imagino que aparecerá pronto. Os voy a presentar a Raimonds de eazyBI, que va a contaros todo lo relacionado con su add-on. Raimonds, cuando quieras. Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
And as you know, people will probably want to talk with you after your speech. So David will be your help, your support, in order for you to help them if someone has any problem with it. So
sure.
It's your audience, and
Yeah, sure.
thank you,
Thank
Raimonds.
Hello. Buenos días, mi nombre es Raimonds y soy de Letonia, but that's unfortunately all my Spanish that I have managed to learn so far, so I'll continue in English. And it's a great pleasure to be here in Madrid, the first time for me to be here in Madrid. So I come from Northern Europe, from Latvia, so sorry for bringing this chilly weather to you. So probably it will get better when we will go back. So we already had snow some 2 weeks ago. So I'm glad to see you. So I'm Raimonds Simanovskis, and founder and still core developer of eazyBI. And let's talk about Jira and custom reports. So Jira is a very powerful tool, so you can put a lot of things into it. But when you have put a lot of things into Jira, you probably want to get it out and create some reports, charts out of the data. But if you will Google how to create a custom Jira report, then the first Google search result would be some tutorial how to create a custom Jira report, where you will learn that you need to create a new custom plugin, create some plugin modules, write some XML with plugin modules, and write some more XML. So probably that's not a quite easy way how to create custom reports. So wouldn't it be nicer if there would be an easy drag and drop user interface where you can drag and drop the fields that you are interested in and build either pivot style reports, or create different chart types and dashboards out of your Jira data. And even if you need, create some calculations like you can do in Excel and similar tools. Yeah, so that's what eazyBI can bring to Jira. And let me start with a short summary of eazyBI functionality. So eazyBI is a general purpose reports and charts tool, and Jira is one of most successful integration for eazyBI. But in general, in eazyBI, you can bring source data from many different sources, either from Jira or from some other REST API sources, or from some SQL databases, or just from some files. And then when you bring data into eazyBI, it's transformed into so-called multidimensional cube. I'll say a couple of words about that later. And then from that data, you can create either pivot table style reports using drag and drop user interface, as well as create different chart types out of the data. as well as create some calculations using special MDX formula language which you can use to build these calculations. Then when you have created many different reports, you can create also dashboard pages, where in one dashboard page you include several eazyBI reports. And then either these reports or dashboards you can publish also either on Jira dashboards as well as on Confluence pages if you have an application link between Confluence and Jira. So this is a short overview of the main eazyBI functionality. And a couple words about this multidimensional data model. So we have used two typical relational databases where we store all our data into tables where are just rows and columns. Many of these business intelligence tools use this multidimensional data model where we can imagine that we have this multidimensional data cube. In this simple example, we have 3 dimensions like time, project, priority. And then the data are stored in the intersections of these dimensions in these cells in this multidimensional data cube. So for example, for a particular time period, in a particular project with particular priority, we know how many issues were created or how many issues were resolved, etc. So these numerical data are called measures. And you can have many these dimensions, not just 3, so which we can still imagine, but in this eazyBI you can define as many as necessary. Let me show you a quick pre-recorded demo of eazyBI, so which will show some main things how you can build these reports. So the first thing is that in eazyBI you need to import data. You can select from which Jira projects you would like to import the data and select other options like, for example, any custom fields that you would like to use in your reports. And after the initial import, the regular scheduled incremental data import will be performed. After the data are imported, there will be several sample reports created, like sample created versus resolved issues chart, where you can explore these issues created versus issues resolved, as well as see average resolution days or open issues at the end of time period, and can play with some selection criteria. But let me show you how you can easily create a new report from scratch. So we'll create a new report. And in eazyBI, you can use many so-called measures, as I explained, like issues created or due or resolved, and then you can analyze them by different dimensions, like by project, priority, etc. We'll use issues due measure, which is currently unresolved issues, and we'll start to analyze them by priority. So we drag priorities to rows, and we see that in total we have some more than 5,000 unresolved issues, and we can expand and see them by detailed priorities. Now we are looking at all data together. We can add project dimension as a filter dimension and then select just one or several dimensions we're interested in. Now let's add some additional dimensions, for example, assignees, and expand to detailed assignees and remove all assignee line, as well as we will add a status dimension on columns and expand to detailed statuses. And as in this case, we are looking just at the unresolved issues, so there is no resolved and closed status. We can easily hide any empty rows and columns that we have. Whenever we see some total number of issues, we can easily drill through the detailed list of issues as well. So there are many other options. For example, conditional cell formatting. We can highlight large number of reopened issues and see it in the report. So when we have selected the data we're interested in, we can switch to different chart types, like bar charts, line charts, pie charts, and then explore different visualizations options, like switch to stack bar chart, change some colors, etc. And when you have a created report you are interested in, you can save it and give it a name, and later open it and see with the latest data what you have in this report. Then when you have created several reports, you can create dashboard pages, as well as you can publish them on Jira dashboards as Jira dashboard gadgets. And so I'll select eazyBI report gadget, select from which eazyBI account which report I would like to publish, and save it. And you have an interactive eazyBI report on your Jira dashboard page as well, where you can do all these actions and drill through as well. So this was a very quick demo, so if you want to see it in more detail, so we will be available all day outside, so please come to us and we'll show it in more detail. And now I just wanted to show some additional typical use cases, how eazyBI reports and charts are used, and what are these insights that you can learn from your Jira data. So the first example, which I already showed, which is available as a sample report, created versus resolved issues, where you can see both created issues and resolved issues by any time period, either by month or by weeks or by days. But what you can do in eazyBI charts, you can also put in the same chart different measures with different scale, like average resolution days or open issues at the end of the time period, and then put them on different y-axis scales, so that you can compare also measures with different scales and see whether they correlate or not. Yeah, if you are using Jira Agile, or what is now called Jira software, you can build different burn down or burn up charts. Like in this case, this is an example that for a particular sprint, you can select and see by sprint days how many story points were resolved, what's the cumulative burn up of story points resolved during the sprint, as well as what was the total scope of story points at the beginning of the sprint and how they are burning down by days. As well as using eazyBI calculations, you can create forecasted story points remaining trend. So based on how actually they are burning down, you can draw the line and see whether the target meets the end of the sprint as you have expected. So then you can also do it not just by for one individual sprint. You can also, for example, compare sprint velocity. So what were the story points committed at the beginning of the sprint, as well as how many story points were actually resolved at the end of each sprint. And then, as you know, that probably this individual sprint velocity might change from one sprint to another. Also, using eazyBI calculations, you can create running velocities. For example, you can calculate average running velocity for last 5 closed sprints, as in this example, and so then this average will not fluctuate so much as probably your individual sprint velocity changes. Then the next chart example is history of issue statuses. So we bring in all changelog of Jira issues into eazyBI, and you can analyze both how many issues were in particular workflow status at any previous date, or how many days or hours issues spent in a particular workflow status. And this is one example how you could build this flow of issues through the statuses. So in this example, so it's by weeks, how many issues at the end of that particular week were in each particular status. And if you see some interesting thing, you can always also drill through to the list of detailed issues and explore the details. When you are analyzing, for example, resolution time of issues, then the first thing that you quite often analyze is start with average. But average of resolution time can hide a lot of details. And therefore, using eazyBI, you can also analyze resolution times in different ways. So one thing is that you can calculate average resolution in work days, not in full days, for example, but exclude Saturdays and Sundays out of it. As well as if you have some outliers, like some issues with very long resolution time, but then the majority are with small resolution time, these outliers might significantly change your averages, and they will be much larger. And in those cases, so probably it's worth to look at the median, not the average. So median is when you just put all issues by their resolution time in one big line and then just find out, so where is this middle of this sequence? And typically, for resolution time, the median will be lower than average if you have some large outliers, and will better represent what typically how long issues take to be resolved. As well as sometimes you don't want to calculate just averages or medians, but then see the distribution. For example, how many issues were resolved under 10 days, how many issues were resolved more than 10 days, and then you can do that as well, including you can create these resolution time or for currently unresolved issues for their age time intervals. Like, for example, analyze for resolved issues, how many were resolved from 0 to 6 days, how many from 7 to 13 days, from 14 days to 29, etc. And then specify, so what are these resolution times that you are interested? For example, up to 1 week, up to 2 weeks, up to a month, more than 1 month, etc. If you are using Jira Service Desk, then eazyBI can import all your service level agreement statistics, including individual SLA cycles, and then you can analyze how many issues breached particular SLA, what you have defined in a service desk, and then drill down to the details, so which were these particular issues which breached this SLA. As well as analyze the actual, if you have some targets for SLA times, then you can also compare it with some actual times and see if you need to adjust your targets based on the actual performance. Then you can also visualize just individual issues and on timeline and put different events for individual issues. For example, when it was created, when it was last updated, when you started to work on some issue or etc. Different ways how to analyze that as well. Then for identifying some correlations between different measures, you can use these scatter charts and bubble charts. For example, in this example, so you see that on x-axis it is the resolution time of issues. On the y-axis it is average resolution days for those issues resolved. And then so they are grouped by priorities, and the bubble size is the number of issues resolved for issues with that priority, which were resolved on particular time, and then with these resolution days. Then you can also see any other correlations. Pick any measures like number of issues resolved, or resolution time, or number of hours spent, etc., and see whether they how they are correlating or don't correlate, and it provides a good way how to visually show that. Then sometimes, when you are analyzing some data on the timeline, for example, how many issues were resolved or created, you can put and show some events on that timeline as well. For example, when you have some version releases, you can show them as lines on the timeline chart, and then you can see whether when something was released, whether, for example, bugs reported increased or didn't decrease in the production after releasing of that new version. Then you can also analyze your time reporting data, if you're reporting time using worklogs in Jira, by any criteria, by users, by projects, by components, by any custom field. You can visualize so on where do you spend your time on, and whether it reflects your current business priorities. And so these were a couple examples. If you are interested in discussing more, please come to us and discuss. And as I mentioned, there are, you can also import the data from many other data sources. like from some other REST APIs, or do SQL queries from other databases, or upload files from CSV or Excel files. And then you can either upload and combine these data with your Jira data and then create some calculations and then present this calculated data from different data sources. As well as if you just have some other data sources for which you don't have a good reporting tool, you can create a separate eazyBI account for that, import those data from REST API or SQL sources, and use the same tool for creating additional reports. So eazyBI is available both for Jira Server, Data Center, as well as Jira Cloud, and that's the same tool available in all deployment platforms and available for 30-day free trial on Atlassian Marketplace. So you're welcome to try it out and or come to us and speak or write to our email, and we are happy to learn about new use cases, how to use eazyBI, and we are glad always to help creating your first reports to get the valuable data out. Thank you for gratias, and speak to you later during the day.